When we talk about the greatest NFL players of all time, we usually only look at the offensive players. Tom Brady, Jerry Rice, maybe Mahomes soon. But what they do on that side of the ball, Aaron Donald does on the other. Or is his impact even more than that? At the very least, Donald is one of the best defensive tackles to exist. But does he have a case for the best defensive player ever? And if you think about it, could he even be the best football player ever, period? This is The Gridiron. Aaron Donald was born in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, to mother Anita Goggins and father Archie Donald. He was one of 3 kids, with sister Akita Donald and older brother Archie Donald Jr. Their father played college football, but never quite made it to the pros. Both Archie Jr. and Aaron wanted to follow in their father's footsteps, and beyond. Aaron admitted that he was lazy as a kid, but that ended when his father transformed their basement into a gym. When Aaron was 12 years old, he would wake up at 4:30 a.m. with his father and brother to work out in their home gym for nearly 2 hours. Aaron's father wanted to instill discipline in his sons' lives, and he did. Aaron started seeing results, and he kept at it. Donald went to Penn Hills High School, but he wasn't one of those NFL athletes who played multiple sports originally. He was fully committed to football, playing both defense and offense. In addition to being a standout defensive tackle, he also played offensive guard. Donald was an all-state selection in both his junior and senior seasons, and was a 3-star prospect. But he didn't receive offers from larger schools, just a handful of smaller ones. This included Toledo, the school his brother had chosen. But Aaron took his own path and went to Pittsburgh. On the defensive line, Donald was shorter than most. He was listed at 6 foot heading into college. His freshman year, he was a reserve defensive lineman, but he played in all 13 games and made an impact for the team, including 2 sacks and 3 tackles for loss. His sophomore year, he became a starter, and his presence grew. People were taking notice of the homegrown Pittsburgh product who was still growing. And so were the stats. Sophomore year, he had 47 tackles, 16 for a loss, 11 sacks. Junior year, he recorded 64 tackles, 18.5 for a loss, 5.5 sacks. Senior year, he had 59 tackles, 28.5 for a loss, 11 sacks, and to top it off, 4 forced fumbles. College players were not stopping Aaron Donald, and the NFL soon took notice. Teams were wondering if this kid could revolutionize the game. Could a defensive lineman really carry your team to success? Aaron Donald's older brother Archie had bounced around on a few NFL teams. Aaron was hoping things would be different for him. The 2014 NFL Draft came, and the undersized defensive tackle was projected to be selected high, but he got passed over a few times. The Jaguars preferred quarterback Blake Bortles, the Bills selected wide receiver Sammy Watkins, and the Browns picked cornerback Justin Gilbert. And in terms of defensive linemen, the most sought after was the number 1 pick Jadeveon Clowney, going to the Texans. But the now 6'1" Aaron Donald was selected as the 13th pick in the draft by the Rams, one of the best decisions the franchise has ever made. Aaron Donald played in all 16 games his rookie year and started 12 of them. He was an impact player immediately. As a defensive tackle, Donald was often situated right in the middle of the defensive line. Just like in college, he was an excellent run stopper and could easily get in the backfield. 48 tackles his rookie year, and 18 were for a loss. He also forced 2 fumbles. You can't ask for more from your rookie defensive tackle. And the quarterback sacking game, usually dominated by defensive ends, well, he got in on that too. 9 sacks in his first year. That was enough to earn him Defensive Rookie of the Year. His output just increased over time. Aaron Donald was a behemoth in the middle of the Rams' defensive line. He was commanding double teams and triple teams. All the extra attention on him allowed for other players to break free and attack the ball. And even with the double and triple teams he got loose, his sack totals were still climbing higher. Twice he led the league in tackles for a loss, and once he led the league in sacks. That was the 2018 year when he led in both, 20.5 sacks and 25 tackles for a loss, all from the guy who was undersized for his position. That year was also one in which he won Defensive Player of the Year. One of 3 years. Yes, Aaron Donald joins elite company. Only J.J. Watt, Lawrence Taylor, and himself have won Defensive Player of the Year 3 times in a career. Don't forget, J.J. Watt was 6'5", and LT was 6'3". Donald was doing all of this at a disadvantage. 6'1", which is 2 inches shorter than the average defensive tackle, and his 280 pounds was also 15 pounds lighter than the average defensive tackle. So why did it look like everyone else was at a disadvantage when they were matched up against Aaron Donald? It was because they were. It all started back when Archie Donald instilled that sense of self-discipline and strong work ethic in his son. And it stuck. Aaron Donald's commitment to his training regimen made every pound of his lighter frame count. You can just look at his build to know he's a beast in the gym. And he took it beyond that. Aaron was learning hand-to-hand combat with his boxing trainer, with his trainer coming at him with knives, and Donald having to fend him off. You could see the results in his game with those swim moves and his precise hand movements that regularly beat offensive linemen. When you train against knives, it makes game time a whole lot easier. 2020 was Aaron Donald's third Defensive Player of the Year achievement. He had already been to a Super Bowl, but he hadn't won one. Could he really be considered one of the best if he hadn't won that game? Well, one legend thought so. Aaron Donald has racked up a laundry list of achievements in his 10 years in the NFL. He made 7 consecutive first-team All-Pros in his first 8 years. That's the longest streak for any position, offense or defense, since the 60s. And in 2021, he finally added Super Bowl champion to that list. Just before that game against the Bengals, Shannon Sharpe was asked how close Aaron Donald was to being the best defensive player ever. He had a lot to say.
He's the premier defensive player. I got a case. He's a top 5 player, not just defensive player, the player in all of football. You put this on his resume, a Super Bowl with 3 defensive players of the year, Skip? Yeah, but I believe he's a top 5 all-time great.
Shannon even highlighted how he played in the era of LT, Bruce Smith, Reggie White, and Deion Sanders. So he didn't say that lightly. Aaron Donald went on to win that Super Bowl.
I'm just so happy. I wanted this so bad. I dreamed this, man. I dreamed this, and it's like, it's surreal. Look at this. Look at this, man. I feel amazing. I feel amazing.
But Shannon Sharpe already believed he was a top 5 all-time player before that game. So step aside, LT. Step aside prime time. Number 99 isn't just Aaron Donald's ranking in Madden. It's the number that symbolizes football greatness. Aaron Donald left a mark on the game, just like he left a mark on opposing quarterbacks. The NFC West had a decade-long streak of terror running through it. That's why Arizona Cardinals quarterback Kyler Murray said, "Thank God," when he saw Aaron Donald retired. Quarterbacks didn't want any of him. Donald showed that despite having a smaller size, a player can still get in the game, make an impact, and much more. He didn't just play at a premier level as an undersized defensive tackle. He played at a level no one could touch. This is especially highlighted by his PFF career grade, which stands at 97.3. That's the highest of any player in NFL history, offense or defense. He never finished with a PFF grade below 90 in any season, which speaks to his consistency. Since 2014, Aaron Donald has had 40 more tackles for loss than any other player. In that same time span, he's also had 95 more pressures in 2.5 seconds or less than anyone else. About 40% of the time from 2018 to 2023, teams double-teamed him, but they still couldn't stop him. Aaron Donald defied the odds to become one of the best professional football players ever. Easily the best defensive tackle in history, likely the best defensive player ever, and is now in the conversation of the best to ever play the game of football.